Hey, gorgeous. If you want success on your fertility journey, you've got to have the mindset for it. It's time to kick fear, negativity, doubt, shame, jealousy, and the whole clown car of low-vibe fertility journey BS to the curb. I'm your host, Roseanne Austin, fertility mindset master. Former prosecutor and recovering type A control freak perfectionist, I use the power of mindset to get pregnant naturally and have my baby boy at 43, despite years of fertility treatment failure. I help women across the globe beat the odds on their fertility journey just like I did. Get ready for a quick hit of confidence, joy, feminine badassery, and loads of hell yes for your fertility journey. It's time to get fearless, baby. Fearlessly fertile. Let's do this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you.
I'm so excited to see you too. Thanks for having me. This is
Oh
awesome.
my goodness, I know. And but we're going to jump right in. I mean, can you believe that we're having this conversation?
No, I can't.
It's
I can't.
so
It's hard. It's hard. It's not something I actually imagined. I feel really honored to be part of your podcast. That's a really big deal. And thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, well, it's such an honor to have you. I think the reason why this can sometimes feel so surreal is it seems like it was just yesterday when we had our first conversation. Like,
Yes.
doesn't it feel just so crazy in that sense? So let's jump right in and let's talk about, like, you know, I your story is one that just, it speaks to my heart so much because of what you created in such a short period of time, and having watched you so closely, like, we're going to get into so much of that, like, so much of what you allowed yourself to receive is so inspirational that I just can't wait for women to hear this. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about how you found yourself on this journey?
Sure. Well, I feel like it's been a very long journey for me, even though it may not have seemed like it at the beginning. Um, I knew I always wanted to have children. This was ever since I was a little kid myself. It was just something I felt called to, and it was a big mission and dream. But I found myself in a relationship for 10 years with a partner who really didn't want the same things. And it took me a really long time to really, really believe it. Because, of course, I feel like so many of us do fall into that trap of just hoping things will change and maybe manipulating things a bit, but and that was me for a long time, and I just didn't see the truth. But then finally one day it became really apparent and the relationship ended, and at that point I was 35 years old, and I was like, holy shit. How? What now? And of course all the pressures of our modern life suddenly fall on your shoulders when you're across that imaginary line after 35, realizing that fertility is not a given anymore and whatever, and all the stories that we hear. Um, so I found myself in that mindset for a little bit, single, um, over 35, not sure where the future was going to bring me. I was lucky enough to very soon after meet my now husband, who's amazing. Um, really connect on a different level with this man. He was the one for me. Everything felt right. I just knew we were meant to have children together. Um, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to build a relationship. You have to really feel each other out. Um, and but by the time we were ready, I was like, okay, great. Okay, we're ready now. We're married. I'm 38, whatever. We got pregnant right away, and I was like, oh, well, see, this was easy. This was meant to be. But I feel like I built up this story of wanting to have children and knowing I have all these obstacles to get there, that I almost didn't allow myself to believe it was really happening, I kind of felt like, oh, am I really pregnant? I don't deserve to be, almost. And funny enough, I had a miscarriage. Um, and that was a real shock, especially because the miscarriage was a silent miscarriage, is what they call it, really dramatic name, um, where you have no symptoms of anything going wrong. And then you go in for a scan at 12 weeks and they're like, no, there's no baby. There's like whatever, like I forget the medical name for it, but you've conceived something, but it hasn't developed and it's in there, and your body is not even willing to let it go. And that was really, really, really shocking and upsetting, and reinforced all my stories that I have been trying to ignore, of like, oh, well, of course this happened. You're 38. What were you thinking? Should have tried earlier. Why were you in that relationship for so long? And it really broke me for a little while. And I felt so sad, and I couldn't trust my body, and I didn't know what to do next. And I didn't feel ready, like, oh, well, I'll just forget about it and move on. I'll try again and it'll be fine. That didn't feel right. And the fact that it was somehow snuck up on me, was like this silent miscarriage, felt really dramatic. And I remember reading a lot of spiritual development books, and these are the things that I've always been interested in. But as I was going through some of the writings by, Joe Dispenza or Gabrielle Bernstein, a lot of books on your list, actually, I remember thinking, like, oh, I wish there was something like this, but specific to pregnancy or conception, or just getting through this period in life. And like, how can there not be something that speaks to these changes in your mind and kind of like really addresses the issue? And a few days later, I came across your ad on Facebook, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the book.
Funny how that happens, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. I feel like the universe kind of brought you to me. And I usually hate Facebook ads, and like all of us do, and like, oh, it knows too much about me. How does it know? And then this was the one time when I really appreciated it, and just I couldn't put your book down. I read it in a few hours. It was so insightful. It was so specific. It really addressed all the things and fears and confusion, and all the things. It was almost like talking to someone who really gets it. And we all have different stories, and different lives that bring us to this point of wanting to know more about why getting pregnant is an issue for us. But I feel like everyone just wants to be understood and heard, and that's kind of how your book made me feel. Like, oh yeah, I'm talking to someone who gets it. And that was a really, really good feeling. And after thinking about it for a few weeks, I realized that I needed the help. I didn't want to fall into the trap of now being the woman who can't get pregnant, starts going down a spiral, thinking that something's wrong with her body, just being down on myself. I didn't want to be in that hole. I was afraid of being there, and I knew how possible it was after having an experience like this. And it was almost like preventative therapy. I was like, no, I gotta go. I really want to put everything that I have, everything that I can, towards not falling into that trap and working through whatever issues I may have, may not even be aware of, because this is what I really want. And that's when I signed up for your course.
Yeah, well, you bring up a really interesting point about it was almost preventative that you didn't want to be in that place. Tell us why, because plenty of people are comfortable in that dark place. They just allow themselves to go into that dark place. So what inside of you said, "No, I'm not doing that."
Yeah, that's a great question. I I'm not sure what it was, Roseanne, to be honest, but I didn't want to sit still. I didn't want to do nothing. Um, I felt like to achieve anything that you want, you kind of have to take little steps towards it, whatever they are, and not just kind of assume that things will change. And maybe that's what it is. I feel like I'm an action-oriented person, and other aspects of my life, um, and I hated that the few brief moments I had after the miscarriage of feeling really sorry for myself and feeling like this loser who's nearing 40 and will never get pregnant. Oh, I just hated that feeling so much. And I just
Right.
knew that wasn't me, but I was afraid that I couldn't really, if I stayed in it alone, I would dwell on it. And I didn't want to dwell on that. And I really wanted to be free. And it really felt like that was something I could attempt by participating in the course.
Right. Well, you made a really powerful point at the very beginning is about, and I think it's a trap that a lot of us get into, is being in this place in our lives where we're just hoping things will change.
Mhm.
Like just sitting on the sidelines hoping that something is going to like come into our lives that's going to change it for us. But what you're talking about is frankly loving this desire and this dream of being a mom so much that you weren't willing to stand on the sidelines and hope shit changed. Like you took an active role in changing that.
Yeah.
Like, have you given yourself any credit for that? Like,
Um, yes, I think I have by this point. I think I have because it's true. It's absolutely true. It's just not an avenue that we just sitting still and doing nothing may feel good for a little while, but it doesn't get you anywhere. So there's got to be something. You've just got to show the universe that you're serious, and that's what the experience was like for me. I was like, no, I'm really serious. I'm going after this.
yeah, like your hair is on fire. And as an observer, I can vouch for the fact that you went after this like your hair was on fire because you were there every week doing the work, asking questions, like getting the coaching. Like you were in it to win it and it was very obvious. What were some of the things that you noticed changing in you once you, because it all started with a decision. It all started with your decision that you weren't going to sit on the sidelines and be a sad, miserable woman getting, moving toward 40, and heartbroken over a miscarriage. There, like, what was that like for you to say, hey, I'm doing something different? And what was it like for you to actually be doing things that were different?
Mhm. It was so empowering. And there are so many insights that I got from the course that I still have with me today. And it's a work that never ends. I feel like I'm always constantly going back to some of the things I've learned. One of the major things for me was this thing that you always drill us on is to stay in your lane and to not think of your life, of somebody else's life as being like cursor to your life or somebody else's story being your story, because it's so easy, especially as a woman in her late 30s or early 40s. Everything you read about is just there's so much drama and misery, and pregnancy is so difficult and fertility is hard and the horror stories, and it's so easy to just fall into that. And I felt that I was in danger of falling into it, and I have in fact fallen into it a little bit, and I just knew it. And like the thought, you wake up with that thought every day, every month, and it's like, oh, I just got to try, otherwise it's going to be too late, and like that pressure builds. But what I really learned in your class was how important it is to shut those voices down and stay focused on you and your story and how it has nothing to do with anybody else. And that was a big revelation. I just think it's a huge one, actually. It's just so easy for us to believe everything we read and hear and see. But so incredible to realize how much more powerful we are than the stories we hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it was so funny to watch you because every single week it was like there was a different light bulb going off. Like Yulia was, having all these aha moments. And like, tell us a little bit about, what was it like to be around also other people that were doing that work? What was that like? Because it must have been, because this is not a conversation that people have, openly. And then you start having this conversation with other women, and it's really extraordinary.
Wow, that was mind blowing, because and that was an interesting balance for me to walk, because I was afraid I was going to fall into somebody else's story. Um, but it was incredible to watch other women get coached through everything they were going through, because for you sit on this call for a couple of hours and you get such vulnerability and so much truth, and every single issue that comes up that you're coaching someone on is so relevant. Like, even if you've never had that experience in your life, you're getting something out of it, and that was invaluable. It was just this gold mine of lessons. um, and I just felt there was all this energy, this positive energy on the call, and like whenever someone was being really vulnerable and telling something that made her cry, oh, you could just feel how everyone was feeling for her. And that was powerful. And I do think that that plays a difference, that makes a difference too in your journey, when you have so many people rooting for you and kind of
Right.
supporting you.
And it's a different experience too when you're around women who can have that vulnerability, have that very real emotion, but refuse to get stuck in it. It was like, yes, there's emotion, but what's the solution? What's that next step? So it's that kind of that really cool mix of like, yeah, this is what's real for me, but I also am creating a path out of that. Like, it's the sort of thing that we're teaching the yes and. Yes, two things can be true at the same time. There can be real pain, but there can also be a way to onboard that and use it to spring yourself forward.
I loved that concept. Yeah, exactly. That's right. You're not always just watching somebody breaking down, you're actually witnessing their growth, and it's so inspiring and just pushes you forward. You're like, yeah, that's going to be me next week. That's
Yeah.
every week. It's something. I was really looking forward to the calls. It was just this incredible um, validation to have that group for 8 weeks, however, 10 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so talk to us. I mean, what were some of the biggest ahas? Because there was a clear progression for you. Like, I watched it happen where there were so many things that were changing within you because you made some pretty big decisions during that. I mean, the program's 8 weeks long. And during that 8 weeks, there was some very dramatic changes that you were making and decisions you were making. So talk to us about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you've talked so much about being following your own path, being true to your desires, whatever you want is what you will manifest. And I, during the time that we were on our calls together, my husband and I, we've been thinking about moving to Berlin. We were living in New York. It was Corona high times, but we had this dream of moving to Europe. And I had this realization during our time together that waiting was pointless. Like, why would we wait longer? Why would we not just do it now? You know, let's not put it off until COVID is over. Let's not, suddenly there were no more excuses. And I was like, let's just do what we really feel drawn to do. And we did. And it was kind of an overnight decision almost. We had made the decision in September, and by the middle of October, we were on our way. And that felt really powerful and really aligned with just the life that I wanted to live at the moment. And it spilled out into everything else, including a fertility journey as well. Because so instead of doing the things that you're supposed to do, following the rules, or like measuring, using the ovulation stick every month, which we did for a while and it didn't work, and charting all the, your temperature and just being really, really prescriptive, suddenly we had this freedom of let's just, like, who cares about any of that? Whatever you're supposed to do, let's just do what we want to do. And it was incredible because obviously, on our way to Berlin, we got pregnant. And in that magical way that it was like a no-brainer. There was no work there. It was I really felt like I had to put in some kind of physical effort. When we made the decision to move to Berlin, it had freed us and freed me from all these preconceived notions I had about what it takes to get pregnant. Um, while before in New York at home in my comfort zone, while reading all these things online about how to do it or what's the best way to do it or what's the most efficient way to do it, I was using ovulation sticks and like charting my cycle really closely and just being really scientific about it. But there was a change that kind of arrived unexpectedly with this decision to move and just live and not follow any rules and do what feels right. And that feeling kind of what came into it permeated everything. And that month we didn't care. We didn't care if we were going to get pregnant. We were just enjoying ourselves. And of course that's when it happened. And
Funny how that works, right? Like, funny how that letting go, that giving yourself the freedom, because I watched that happen for you, Yulia. It was so crazy to watch, because it's like from the first time we chatted, you were like slowly but surely eking toward this thing that you really wanted. And I remember, because you were on the call, I think you were getting on a flight to Berlin, but you had shown up on the call earlier in the day, and there was this part of you that we were coaching on, this being a new chapter, this new like time in your life. And what you didn't know is that you were pregnant.
well, I wasn't yet. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
that was okay. So that happened a couple weeks after. Okay.
Well,
Remind me of the timeline,
almost
because
a couple of days. No, but you're right. It was exactly it. It was very much like you set it up for me. You're like, this is it. This is a new chapter. Take this move as something that like makes you into a new person. Like, leave all this bullshit behind. Everything stays in New York. It is a brand new you. You're not bringing any of your worries, any of your bullshit to Germany. You're free. And you gave me an assignment. I had to do it on the plane. I remember writing these things
that's
down.
right.
Really, yeah, it was awesome, and I did it, and I was like, yes, this is it. I'm really embracing this. Like and it wasn't even about pregnancy anymore. It was bigger than that. It was life. It was just, you know, really making an effort, because my biggest issue um, in this entire journey was this intense worry that something wasn't going to work out. And, maybe that was my tendency to begin with. And then the miscarriage made it feel like, oh, well, see, that was right. Yeah, I was right. Like, that's not going to work out. So, working to let that go was my work. And I think the move to Berlin, it was like this physical act, this chance to really leave that all behind with your coaching and with exercises. And it felt like shedding this burden, leaving it behind. And then we arrived in Germany. And yes, a few days later, it happened. And obviously, I still had no idea, but I think it couldn't have not happened now that I look back at it after all that work and, and just all that mental space that I've created.
Well, and it was so funny. I think that's what confused me about the timeline because I'm like, was she pregnant like and didn't know it, or was it a few days later? I mean, it happened so fast when you allowed this space in your heart.
Yes, yes, exactly. It was almost immediate. It was like the universe was listening, and the moment that I was truly ready, and I wasn't stressed about it, and I wasn't afraid, and I didn't feel this burden. It had arrived, and it was a magical thing. And can I tell you about the day that I found out? Because I feel
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Oh, I would love it.
Yeah. I remember we were in Germany. My period was a little bit late, and I went into the supermarket and I had to buy the pregnancy test, and I had to Google what it's called in German. It's like the super long name, like Schwangerschaft test, and I'm like, oh, I have to remember that. I remember going into the pharmacy and like looking at the pharmacist, and I immediately forgot, and I had to pull out my phone and be like, I need this Schwangerschaft test. And while I'm mortified, I'm like, oh, I had this. It was like this leftover feeling of inadequacy. I was like, who am I to be buying this test? And I remember catching myself thinking that and going like, stop it. This is the old you, you know. I bought the test, get home, like, okay, well, maybe I'll take it today, tonight. And then that night I get like a couple of drops of blood. And I'm like, oh fuck, like the period is here. And before, in the months prior, I remember how upset I would get seeing that. And this month I decided, I was like, no, I've just had all this coaching. I'm on a roll here. I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm not going to waste energy being upset about it. I remember going to sleep and listening to a podcast of yours, another interview, and this woman who talked a lot about having faith. And I remember how much that resonated with me. And I was like, yeah, I have to, this is a big one, having faith that whatever is meant to come will come at the time that it's meant to come. And I just have to be open. And I went to sleep with that thought. And next morning, there was no more blood. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take the test. I took the test and it was positive.
It was Schwanger.
It was stronger.
Now this is all coming back to me because I remember that. You're like, what the fuck is Schwanger? Like having to make sure
Yeah.
that like, you were reading it properly. That's so awesome. I'll never forget the word for pregnant
Yeah.
in German now.
Yeah. You'll remember it forever. Yep. And I
Yeah.
specifically got to know the word, not the plus signs, because I was like, this is something I haven't done before. I've done the other types of tests, but this is different because this time it's going to be different. And it was
Wow.
great.
And it really was, wasn't it? Like you had made such a dramatic transformation and I mean, I love your story and your truth is so inspiring because one, you were present enough to realize that you had a choice. You could stay in misery. You could allow yourself to be defined by the miscarriage. You could also make the choice to stay stuck in the story that shit doesn't work out for Yulia.
Mhm.
But you made the conscious decision to stop living that way. I mean, that's why what is so inspiring about this is, can you imagine if you had gone on for 5 years like that?
Oh my God. Oh, I can imagine. And that's my nightmare.
Yeah.
And I know
And
lots of people, unfortunately, sometimes that's what we do to ourselves.
yeah, and you're right. We do it to ourselves, but there was something so powerful in you that was coming out and saying, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'm changing the pattern because in in a very short period of time, you made the decision to change. You started to make the change. You were applying what you were learning. You made a massive choice to trust yourself and go to Berlin. You made a decision that you weren't going to live in fear. You weren't going to torture yourself with the pee sticks and tracking. You were going to live your life. And look how quickly you changed the trajectory of your journey. Like, it's
Yeah, it was
extraordinary.
almost
Like,
immediate.
yeah, because you were totally available for that. So we got to
Mhm.
know, Yulia, how far along are you now?
25 weeks.
25 weeks.
25 weeks. Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, it's so
Wow.
real. It's more real every day. And it's a magical feeling, just, and the confidence grows, and you kind of, yeah, every day I'm grateful, and I keep doing the practice that you've taught us, the gratitude practice in the mornings, and the meditations, and oh, I couldn't have done it without that work. I really don't think so. It was, and the other class, and I feel like this learned to see my miscarriage differently. It wasn't this horrible thing that happened. I I kind of had to have an appreciation for my body and for the experience that I had. I looked at it in a different way. It was almost like my body was so excited to get pregnant that it was pretending to be pregnant, even though the you know
Right, right. And you made actually, and after you found out you were pregnant, you made another big decision, didn't you?
we did we we were in Berlin, and this was winter, and COVID was just getting out of control, and getting everything was being so bleak, unfortunately, and it just wasn't the life that we had imagined. We had an opportunity to come to New Zealand because my husband is a New Zealand citizen, and even though the country is closed right now, we were able to find our way in. And it was a big decision to make again, because we had just moved to Berlin, brought all of our stuff. It was all sitting in a warehouse, ready to get set up. But suddenly this New Zealand, like, okay, well, we just got to make another leap and go with it. And I remember stressing about it. I was like, is this the right thing? Like, we're here now and we're pregnant. Like, how's it gonna go? But we did. We made the leap. We came down to New Zealand, where I am right now, and it was the best decision ever. Yeah.
Wow, you are
So I
truly
keep
going
this.
to you're going to have a citizen of the world, love. So tell us a little bit, like, what would you tell other women who were struggling with a history of miscarriage or afraid of, this idea that they can't get out of the way that they're thinking? Like, what piece of advice would you give to them?
Oof, be able to see, to first of all, not get bogged down by the stories of others that they hear all the time, and to really, really develop a trust and belief in themselves, and to acknowledge that they're on their own path, not compare themselves to others, really create the space to let, to just allow things to come in and to not stress and push. I don't know how to express that better. I
It's
think, well, that
beautifully
that was
said,
a key
Yulia.
moment for me. Yeah, that was a key moment for me of just realizing that I didn't have to control every aspect of this journey. What I had to do was sit back and make the space for it to happen without being distracted by the stories of others. Um, and having coaching and help navigating that experience was instrumental for me. And I would say that if anyone who's struggling with this fertility and just thought patterns, be open to getting help. It's an incredible thing. It's such a gift you can give to yourself and to your future child.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I mean, because somebody like you who made a transformation so quickly and was so cognizant of what she was doing, so present with what she was doing. You're such an inspiration for, look, it doesn't have to take you 10 years to make this change. Once you make the decision to be different, you get to be different.
Right.
Because in order to get a different result, you have to be different. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Like, that's fairly basic. And it's so cool to see you thriving in this. Like, Yulia, you're like all glowy and like living this crazy good life. I mean, who knew that a heartbreaking miscarriage would usher you into this completely different way of being?
Oh my God, yeah. Thank God that happened. I'm so glad it happened because I'm a different person now. It gave me so much more wisdom and insight. It connected me with my husband in a different way, which was also really important. It just it changed everything, but in a way like all of these changes needed to happen in order for me to be where I am now. Appreciating that, knowing that is 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 invaluable. I'm so grateful for the experiences that I've had. I wouldn't
Yeah.
change it.
Yeah. And I'm grateful to have had the honor of coaching you because I love coaching women like you who are like, I'm doing this. I'm scared and I'm doing it anyway. I may not quite understand what's happening just yet, but I'm doing it because that's how you make the quantum leaps that you made, because that's the only way that we can describe what you did was a series of quantum leaps, because nobody goes from heartbreaking miscarriage, changing mindset, Berlin, pregnancy, New Zealand, who doesn't make quantum leaps. Because when you stack all those things together, it's like, it's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That is the pattern, and that is what's most important. And it's awesome. I'm happy to see it that way now. And you're right. You just got to make the leap. You can't just don't sit still. Don't sit still and assume that everything will work out. Just do something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
whatever it
and
is.
think about what you're going to be able to teach this extraordinary baby. Like, just think about it. Like, once that baby is born, I cannot wait. First of all, I can't wait to see the pictures, but I can't wait for you to be able to, for the first time, to sit down and say, baby, I got something to tell you. Like, this was, and tell them all about like who you became. I think it's going to be awesome. And it's definitely work that's preparing
Yeah.
you to be a great mom. So thank you so much for being with us, Yulia. It was so kind, so generous, and what an inspiration. And you sharing where you've been and the vulnerability that you've shown, to be present with what's true for you and demonstrate that there is another path is incredibly generous. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. and for
Yep.
some others. You're doing great work.
Oh, I appreciate that, love. I receive it. I receive it. So go and have an amazing rest of your day, doll.
Thank you.
Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.